Greetings, it's Adam with ArcadeHeroes.com, and once again, we are going to look at some of the newest arcades that have opened their doors all around the world, although just like last time, a lot of this is going to be focused on North America, since that's just where most of the news came from. If you haven't already, you can find the post that I'm going to be looking at right on ArcadeHeroes.com, and it's the top story still, since I haven't posted anything since. But this is a series of posts that I call Location Watch, and use these to just again highlight brand new arcades that have opened their doors, and hopefully there's one that's opening up somewhere near you. And if so, be sure to go out and actually buy their cards or tokens or whatever it is that they use, buy their free play pass. Because I've one thing as an arcade operator myself that I've seen is sometimes people come in and be like, wow, this is so cool, so amazing, I love this, I haven't seen an arcade in years, and then they walk out and don't buy anything, and it's like, well, your like and all the nice words don't really help me keep the doors open, so thanks, I guess. But so don't be that guy, and let's get going. And as always, I give a hat tip to Replay Magazine and Intergame Online, as both of these websites they're posting more than I do, but they tend to get a little bit more in the weeds, so to speak, for industry stuff that's not necessarily interesting to most players out there. And so, but they still will cover new sites, and so they're a couple of the resources that I use. But I've also had quite a few people sending me these links lately, and so I really appreciate that, because it's very difficult to find information or news on these sorts of these bits of news, because they're always local stories. You never have a nationwide story of, say, a Dave & Buster's opens up in Minnesota or something like that. And so, and hello, Jumping General. I'm glad you found the channel. Hope you're enjoying it. And but back to what I was saying there is that, yeah, I want to highlight these arcades and hopefully reach somebody that might be close to them out there. Or if you're traveling for vacation or work or something like that and you happen to have heard about one of these places, then just, again, go support them. So our first one, we're starting with North America. Of course, most, all except for one of these is in the United States. It's occasionally we'll get one out of Canada, as we will talk about here shortly, but I almost never hear about ones opening up in Mexico. But anyways, and further south than that, down to Panama. Although earlier this year there was one that did open up in Panama called the Panama Barcade. That was the only time I think I've ever talked about Panama on the blog. But anyways, the arcade at Bally's Horseshoe Las Vegas in Las Vegas, Nevada, of course. There might be another Las Vegas. I think there's a Las Vegas, New Mexico out there. But the one that 100% of the population would be familiar with would be the one in Nevada. But at this Bally's Horseshoe Hotel, Resort, whatever it is, I've actually never been to this one. I've walked the strip a few times. I kind of stopped doing that in recent years. I mean, once you've done it a couple of times, you don't need to keep making that trek. But and I've stayed at a few different hotels in Vegas, but I've just never been to this Bally's one. But they took their sports book area, which from what I saw, it was kind of sad. Now, granted, I'm not a gambler. I know little about gambling, and so but again, from what I've seen at other hotels with their sports book areas, and what the picture I'd seen of their previous one, I mean, yeah, it was very sad. And interestingly enough, the story that was in this casino.org article, jump over there really quick, that explains why they did that, is it really came down to money. And that arcade machines, at least in Vegas, can make just as much money as a slot machine can, which is very interesting. And right here, as it says, to paraphrase, sports books don't make money, arcades make money. So, take that, those who say that arcades are dead. And so, yeah, here's the sports book area. This almost looks more like a reservation desk with a bunch of monitors behind it than what I've seen with sports book areas before at places like Westgate, which is one that I've stayed at often. But yeah, they've done what looks like a great job on putting together. I'll turn the sound off because I keep getting little, not strikes, but dings, I guess you could call them, on YouTube for sharing audio, which is dumb. But this area right here, it's going to be a bar. So this will eventually be a bar arcade. I love the LED neon look. I would really like to install stuff like that at my arcade here. That's one thing that I've really been needing to do. I just don't know how much money I need to throw at it to kind of do what I want. I would love to make my place look like a space station, and just because I have the name Arcade Galactic. But they use the card system, and I've seen these particular systems, those kiosks that they just showed there, at a number of places. I just can't remember if they're Intercard or Embed or somebody else. There's so many different companies out there that do the cards now, and if you've been out to any arcades recently, you've probably seen that they're no longer using tokens. There's one that you haven't seen too often, the Sega Mission Impossible Arcade Super Deluxe, and it is a very impressive cabinet. Great for walking through or flying a drone through. This one has some redemption, has a Typhoon 10th anniversary there, a single ATV Slam, which is kind of weird. I don't know why you get just a single. Jurassic Park, 2 Super Bikes, 2 Mario Karts, one of the Tomb Raider Wild West Shootout, a Halo Fireteam Raven. I think I'd seen in the back there that they had some Asphalt 9 Legends Arcade DX, but the guy didn't really film over there. There was some Nitro Trucks, a couple of air hockey tables for it to go, the puck to go flying off in some direction. Oh, House of the Dead Scarlet Dawn. I somehow missed that. A Virtual Rabbids. The Taj Mahal crane machine. I haven't seen him in chat yet, but if Ben Blake shows up, he's the expert on cranes. Myself, I've rarely paid attention to that sort of thing. But that is that one. Oops, I should have opened that in a new tab. But also in Las Vegas, and this is important news, I maybe should have given this a little bit more attention on the blog there. But the former Las Vegas GameWorks is surviving. It's moving on. It actually has its grand opening tomorrow. And so if you are in Las Vegas, living there or for vacation, work, whatever it is, then you can go check out Velocity Esports. And again, they are replacing the GameWorks there. The story here in the Las Vegas Review-Journal mentions that about 20 former GameWorks employees now work at this location, so it sounds like they retained a few of them, I think, but yeah, it says there were only employed about 100 people at the time, and this company is done by Philip Kaplan. Sorry, he's a former GameWorks chairman and CEO, and so they are here, Town Square, Las Vegas, which is 6605 South Las Vegas Boulevard, and by I-15 and I-215. And so, yeah, that's a place to go check out. And it's good news because when the news hit last year that GameWorks was just suddenly closing their doors forever, a lot of people were saddened and upset by that, particularly in Seattle where you had the original location. But GameWorks has had a presence in Las Vegas for a very long time. I remember visiting it back when it used to be on the Strip. And it was a very weird entrance, though, because you would go down some stairs and it looked kind of seedy. Well, not kind of. And there was a bar there, but very dark lighting. And then you would go in, and then you were suddenly inside GameWorks. And it was very strange. It was very cool when you got in there, and they had some amazing games, some Sega stuff that oftentimes you wouldn't see at most other places, like the Outrun 2 Super Deluxe that had, I think, the 3/4 size cars that were on a motion base and all that. But they eventually did move to this location at the Town Square, Las Vegas, because just if you're on the Strip, the rents, I don't know what the exact costs are, but I'm sure they're insanely high. And not just rents, but also other stuff that you have to cover as a business owner, insurance, and you may not have all the access to real estate that you want out there. But yeah, it's 36,000 square feet of gaming goodness. And with the esports thing, I think they also have some PC LANs. I don't know how common those are anymore. They were common back when I started my arcade here. In fact, I had one for a few years until interest evaporated in that. But yeah, so Vegas has got plenty of fun, of course, already, but more arcade goodness is there. So moving on, jumping over to Nolans in Louisiana, we have Emporium Arcade Bar number 7. I've mentioned Emporium on the site many times, and well, at least 6 somewhere around there. But yeah, this particular location in New Orleans is opening today, as it says right here on this pop-up. And I assume that this is what the building, yeah, that's definitely the building. So not sure. Let's see. It's on 2231 Street, Claude Avenue. Don't know where that is. I've been to New Orleans once, but it doesn't mean I memorized what it was exactly. But as a bar arcade, they focus a lot on sporting events and, of course, drinks. But they are also got plenty of games, as you can kind of see in the background, like Time Crisis 4, House of the Dead. Is that 1 or 2? I think it's 1. Tekken 5 might be a Dark Resurrection. Just a single cruise and blast. Again, I always find it a little strange when you have a driver by itself. There are some drivers out there that are better alone, like Batman and Chase HQ 2, but for the most part, they're always better linked up, at least with 2. That looks like a Midway cabinet. Is that a Bubbles? Can't tell. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I can't really tell what those 2 are there. Or I guess I should just scroll down further and then I can see what they are exactly. Alien vs. Predator. That's a great game. And one that I should get myself one day. And then, okay, it's just a standard Tekken 5, a World Poker Tour, which I actually just got myself at my arcade here. I didn't buy it. It's through an operator. X-Men Children of the Atom. Turtles in Time is which one that was we saw. South Park Pinball. Popeye. I haven't played Popeye in a long time. Yeah, First House of the Dead, Arkanoid, Cruisin', Simpsons Pinball Party, Mandalorian. No word on the topper there. Haha. Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. A Godzilla. Avengers, Super Contra. That's cool. Could have bought a Super Contra once, but it sold before I was able to give him a call. Versus Excite Bike, Ice Ball, Time Crisis 4, Qbert. And Qbert just celebrated his 40th birthday, 40th anniversary. So if you're in Nolans, then find this building that has lots of artwork all over it and the sea green top. Looks like they keep all their pinballs together in one nice place. Oops. And trying to tell what Taito cabinet that is. I know that's a Taito cabinet, but it's hard to tell. And then their ice balls, Hoop Fever. You know, if you ever want to run an arcade, get something like a skee ball. They generally are known as skee ball, but the technical term is alley roller. Skee ball is a brand, and they own the trademark to that. And so something like ice ball is popular, but it's not technically skee ball. Or get yourself some arcade basketball machines, as they do well. I wonder how the pool does in an arcade bar. I've had people ask once in a while for billiards or pool, but it's just not something that I've offered. So yeah, that is Emporium Arcade Bar number 7. And then jumping up north to Marcel's, Illinois, we have the Gamers Garage Arcade. And hi, Vilmos. Welcome to this live stream where I am covering different new arcades that have opened their doors. And if any of you know of a brand new one that opened out there that I haven't covered on the blog recently, please let me know so that I can include it in the next Location Watch post. And so on the Gamers Garage, this particular site is located in what was a garage right next to City Hall, from what I saw. And they also repair a lot of arcade machines too. And so here's a quick Facebook video of their ribbon cutting ceremony. That's something I've never done myself, but being in the city that I'm at, they don't seem to do that unless you're some sort of big mega corporation. My camera's extremely laggy. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Unfortunately, I'm not sure on my settings here if there's anything that I can really change. On my end it looks fine, but I'll keep that in mind, or not, but hopefully you can hear me okay and that the audio's not laggy. I guess if everything else is fine, just look at the screen here. Don't pay attention to me. Don't pay any attention to the guy behind the curtain. And so let's take a look at some of their pictures. And so again, this used to be like a mechanics shop of some kind. And they've got this, looks like this merchandiser, Flamin' Finger. I haven't seen one of those in a while. But otherwise, they're all video games. They also have some ice balls. And Virtua Cop 2. Any buddy in the chat into Virtua Cop. I've wanted to find a Virtua Cop 3. Not a lot of people know about that one, but it's very rare, very hard to come across, and but still looked cool from what I had seen of it. A couple of Incredible Technologies games, Power Putt and Silver Strike Bowling. You got Big Buck Hunter Pro, and that looks like a light gun game, but I can't really tell. They got some Fast and Furious Superbikes, Fast and Furious Drivers, the first one, not the new one, of course. Got some pinball, such as Pinbot and WrestleMania Rumble, a Play Choice 10 there, Cruisin' USA, I believe. And I think that's a Turbo right there. Some air hockey on the sides, a Dark Silhouette, 2. Miss Pac-Man, 2 Miss Pac-Man. So that's got to be popular. A Zaxxon. I used to have a Zaxxon way back in the front. Okay. Huh. So I'll have to look into why my camera is so laggy. I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure if I can fix that while we're in stream or not. But everything's set to the defaults and to use the yeah, I think I had it at ultra low latency lag on the stream settings, as I recall. Yeah, ultra low is what it's supposed to be, but my apologies about that. I will see if there's anything I can figure out maybe for next time. Oh, and there's my Inside Baseball. But yeah, so this is Gamers Garage Arcade, and they were also nice enough to share the story that we shared about them. And so you can find them on Facebook, and it doesn't not look like, from what I recall, that they have a main website. They mainly just promote on Facebook. And so if you're in Illinois or Marcel, Illinois, then you can check them out there. Oh yeah, they have a Star Trek Voyager as well. That's a game I haven't played in a while. Next up is Pinballs Kingdom in Buda, Texas, which is in the Austin area, I believe, as when I checked their webpage here. So Pinballs, this is one I remember mentioning way back in 2010 when they first got started, and they had a massive location, tons of pinball, but other video games as well. And they have just expanded into what you would call an FEC, a Family Entertainment Center, and so they have other attractions beyond just the pinball and the video games, as it shows on the slideshow here. They have an outdoor laser tag course, which is unusual. I think I've heard of that before, but again, it's just not common. They have a Box Blaster VR. I think one of their other locations has the Omni Arena VR, and they have these this modern take on bumper cars whatnot, but strangely enough, their website does not really mention the games. Like, you have this picture in the background, and as you can probably tell, they've got a lot of pinball, which they should, given what their name is. But they, I'm not sure of all of the amenities and all the games that they might happen to have there, but that would be the third location for pinballs. So if you're anywhere in the Texas area, or the Austin, Texas area, sorry, then they are going to be, you know, kind of one of your go-to places to there. And I'm pretty sure there's other arcades in that region, such as Dave and Buster's, because that's their home turf as well. And we've got a couple where I mentioned this on the blog, where I don't know why all of a sudden it's become trendy to use German words for naming businesses. I'm not complaining. I'm just curious where that might have originated from. Oh, you don't have any in Sweden. Gotcha. Yeah, well, as I'll get into Europe here shortly, there has been a few companies expanding into Europe, but yeah, unfortunately I've not heard of Sweden in particular, anything opening there, but hopefully one day soon. But Game House in Long Island City, New York, it's a 5,000 square foot arcade and restaurant, but from what I could tell, they only had 3 games. Now, granted, I know that in the New York City area, it can be very, very difficult to get a license to open up an arcade. It can be very expensive as well. And so that they just might have few games so as to not cross a certain threshold where the city starts charging you exorbitant amounts to just to have those there. But you can see, I think in this, it's not zooming in, but yeah, they got a Simpsons, a Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, and then let me refer back to the article, a 90s Midway cabinet where I couldn't tell what it was. Let me pause for a second here. I am at my arcade and I am open for business, but I've got some people that are checking out some games. But I left the games off to save on power, so I'll be right back. If you're curious as to what that noise is, we have a coin orbiter, one of those funnel things that you can put coins into and they just spin around. And so that's what they decided to throw some quarters into. Anyways, so there was a game house, and then way over on the opposite side of the United States in Rocklin, California, which is northeastern California, I believe, or kind of central north-ish, is Das Flipper House, where this arcade operator who has a mobile arcade, like they have a trailer full of arcade cabinets that they drive around and rent out, and they also rent out machines, where they are now running this bar arcade, although it looks like it's just focused entirely on pinball machines and not video games. And they mentioned on their Instagram account that they were selling off some of their video games, and here's a picture where you can see they have a lot of the new Stern ones. I think that's a Deadpool there. There's the Munsters, Jurassic Park, Mandalorian, Stranger Things, and also, as I mentioned, Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Maiden, Star Trek, Star Wars, Stern, so all newer stuff that they have to offer there. And it looks like, from what I recall, they were mainly on Instagram as opposed to something like Facebook or having their own website. Oh, they got a Metallica, Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, Spider-Man, I think that's Ghostbusters, yeah. And then I can't tell on the angle from those ones. So that's Das Flipper House. Let me close out some of my tabs here before it gets too crowded. Then we have one where it's like I'm not always sure how to deal with arcades when I see them doing what this one's doing. It's called Arcado Mania, and they're in Fairmont, West Virginia. And as I mentioned on the blog here, a lot of locations have been opening up in West Virginia lately, but one thing that this one is doing is not something that I would recommend, because I don't think that you legally are supposed to be operating arcade one-ups in a commercial situation. Now, where I believe they are a free play arcade, maybe that's where it's, I guess, a loophole where you can do that. You don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, if you're going to open up an arcade, you should have as many original cabinets, I think, as you can. Now, granted, I won't criticize anybody over putting an LCD in something. I've had to do that myself before. But, I mean, this one's not a redemption arcade. It's just arcade one-up. And so you can play those. It's just I don't know if they've modified the control panels to be more durable than what they are. It does look like from this that they have an original Street Fighter II Champion Edition, so that would be nice. And I guess keep it from being solely arcade one-up, but doesn't have a lot of pictures of the arcade itself. But I would just, again, recommend that to them, if they come across this, to hopefully
grab more original machines. But again, I've not heard of anything like Arcade 1-Up going after any arcade that has put Arcade 1-Ups in their place. I've seen a place or two out there which has actually put card readers on them so that they can be played like a machine. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I would just personally prefer to have the original stuff. Then there's a company where this one I've heard of it before, but there aren't any out here in Utah where I'm at, called the Pizza Ranch. I believe this is a big chain out in Midwest areas. I think there's some in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, I think. Illinois, obviously. But the Pizza Ranch in Galesburg, Illinois, must be windy there, just opened up the Fun Zone Arcade. And so there was a story here at WGIL that covers them. And to George's point, it looks like there's a lot of redemption. Not sure how many video games that they have there, but there is an Asphalt 9 right there, a couple of them. It looks like the deluxe version, so they at least splurged on that. That's not a cheap game. I can tell you that. I think, don't quote me on this, pricing's always different from one distributor to the next, but I had heard somewhere in the area of $23,000 to $25,000 per cabinet on that one. But it does have a motion base. The graphics on it are really good. They also grabbed a Virtual Rabbids VR, and you can see a Jurassic Park arcade by Raw Thrills in the background there. Looks like they have a... This was while they were setting up, sort of thing. And then when they are set up, a Nerf arcade, although that is Videmption. And so yeah, this one definitely looks more, is much heavier on the redemption side than the video side. But yeah, I agree. That's one thing for me with Arcade 1-Up and 60-in-1s or Pandora's Box and stuff like that, or doing your own MAME box. I mean, according to MAME, you are not supposed to use their emulator in a commercial situation. And granted, yeah, it's like, who's policing this? I don't know. I've only ever once heard of somebody who went to prison and actually served time for selling ROMs on a stick, and it was something to do with the Ultracade thing that happened years and years ago. Yeah, I haven't heard of arcades being chased for doing that, but still, as I've learned in running a variety of games over the years, multi-game ones tend to be confusing to people. Like, say, like the Neo Geo MVS. It only gives you 4 games to choose from, but if somebody doesn't already know what it oftentimes is confusing, as people just don't understand it. They don't realize that there's multiple games. And then when you get one of these that have, say, 60 or 100 or 3001, and you have this enormous menu and it has all these ROM hacks and stuff to choose from, those cabinets never make money. They also tend to look cheap and crappy. And so I got more complaints about the stuttering video. Okay, let me see if I can fix this while we're on the stream. So yeah, I put my kilobit stuff at maximum levels, so it shouldn't be stuttering, I wouldn't think. So my apologies about that. I may have to do some test streams and see what I can do to figure it out to solve this, unless it's my connection or something going on with YouTube right now. I'm not sure, but again, everything on my end that I can see, it should be outputting at the best possible. So my apologies on that. But anyways, moving on from Fun Zone, this is when we go up to Canada, Saint-Anne-de-Bellevue in Quebec.